think we're live. Here I am. All right. My director's helping me out. How am I looking, director?
A little. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Remember, I
yeah.
want Grandma in there.
It's
Just
in
making
there.
sure.
It's in there.
Thank you. All
It's
right.
in there.
Are we live? Does it showing live?
Yeah, one viewer.
Hi, one viewer. Hopefully we'll get more. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
It might be us.
Yeah, we were watching ourselves. I don't know. Send a heart or a thumb up if you're not us. Anyway, even if you are us, glad to have you aboard. Thanks for coming. It's chapter 2 of my life, an 18-chapter installment that will go all the way through April 30th. Last night we covered when I was a baby, so I didn't know anything. So I talked to you about my parents. Excuse me, I had some spicy chicken for dinner, so I'm a little... Anyway, here we go. So we covered the 60s, the end of the 60s last night. Tonight we covered 1970, 71, 72. I was 3, 4, and 5, basically, those years. And that's when you start forming memories, right? I formed some pretty cool ones, I think. There's an interesting theory I've heard that your first memory is based on pain. And I think mine was. Because the first memory I have, that I think I have, was me at the hospital getting a shot. I don't know what for, but getting a shot in my butt. I was like 3.5 years old. And it hurt a lot, but I didn't cry. And I remember my parents were very impressed, and even the doctor said, "Wow, you didn't cry. Most kids cry." I was like, "Yeah, all right, I guess I'm a badass New Yorker, you know." So, what other memories do I have of those early years in New York? I was being raised in a part of Queens called Elmhurst. The memories I have of that house are that it was white with green trim. It was a divided house. It was an apartment to us. We lived on the lower floor, if I remember right. I remember all kinds of weird little things. I remember another time of pain. My playpen was sitting up against the wall, and it fell down on my toe and split it open. We had to go to the hospital for that. I got 5 stitches. I'm not painting a very good picture of my parents. They were great. Mom was great. Dad was great. Dad had to work a lot, if I remember right. I believe he was working at a gas station up in the Bronx back then.
I can say they're great grandparents.
Thank you. And they did the best they could. I mean, you know, and so we were. Another big memory I have. This one was kind of horrific. There was a kid that lived next door, maybe 2 doors down. He was my age, and his name was also John. So to differentiate, they called him John, and they called me John. And I remember I was watching him a big wheel. I'm sure you remember those in the mid 70s. A lot of kids had them. I didn't have one until I got to Colorado a couple of years later, but he had one. He, like I said, he was 4. I believe I was 2, so it was like 1971, 1972, and this big black car, like a 57 Chevy looking car, is just coming down the road pretty fast. To me, it looked like the Batmobile, and it's just coming down, and he wheeled it out right in front of this car. He came out from between parked cars, so this car didn't see him, and all I remember is hearing the screeching and slamming those brakes, and And then I looked, because the cars were blocking my view, because I was little, because I was 4, and I looked between the 2 cars, and he was completely engulfed by this car. This kid and this big wheel were under the car, that I could hear him crying, and even though I was only 4, I knew that was probably... So, I don't know if the fire department came, probably. The ambulance came, I remember that. And they somehow got him out of there, and I think he broke his arm. He got off really well, considering he was underneath like a 3-ton vehicle. So that was weird. But then later in the day, so I was there with my mom when this happened. This is during the daytime. My dad came out at night, and it's New York. So as you can imagine, it's a neighborhood, and there was this old Greek man that used to say hi to my dad all the time, and my dad was coming home, probably off the subway, and he was walking towards the house, and this old man comes running up to him and goes, "John got run over by a car. John got run over by a car." And he meant to, he meant the other John, but my dad freaked out. Then my mom came running out with me, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, thanks for that, old man." I'll never eat Greek again. Uh, what else happened in those years? Oh, I remember some cute stuff. Well, this wasn't cute. I remember a dead rat. The first rat I ever saw was dead. Yeah, it was just squished right by a sewer pipe. It was gross. I remember that. I remember this was cute though. I remember somebody had a really new VW at the time, so it was probably like a 71 or 72 VW Beetle, and it was fall, and they had taken leaves that had fallen off the trees of all different colors, and they had taped them all over their car, and I thought that was really cool, and it's really stuck in my memory. Memories of my grandmother, there she is. I don't look too happy there, but my theory is that is like 1972, 1973, right before we came to Colorado, so that's why I don't look too happy. I know I had those same awesome pants my first day of first grade in Colorado, but that's not till 1973. We're still in 70, 71, 72. And I don't know why the heck that happened, but okay.
Probably just a USB thing.
There's me. Can you take care of it, director? There's me in my grandmother's backyard. I still remember the address, 190 Iceland Drive. Google it if you're curious, but it was wonderful. It was a huge yard back there. That's me probably around 4 years old. I loved it. I loved going there. I loved going to the beach. I remember I went to Jones Beach, Rockaway Beach. Those were the beaches my parents took me to a lot. And I was drowning once. Or at least to me it was close to drowning. I don't know. But I would always play in the waves, and I would, like a 4 or 5 year old does. You're playing in the waves, and you're getting knocked down, but you're getting right back up, or you're letting the waves kind of chase you to the beach. And I got just an unexpectedly big one, just knocked me down. And I remember just bubbles and dark water and looking for, I didn't know which way was up. And somebody grabbed me and yanked me out of there. And it was like this 15-year-old curly blonde-headed kid. He looked like the kid from Blue Lagoon. That's what he looked like. And I was about as attracted to him as what's her name is, model with the eyebrows. Doesn't matter anymore because I can't remember. But I was about as attracted to him as I had been to anyone. Not in a sexual way because I was 5, but just like, thank you, you saved my life. And my parents went running up to him, and he was just really humble and cool about it. And that's a great memory I have of the beaches in New York. It's a horrific one, but it was also I loved going there. When we could go, we would. We were just a typical family. Parents, when I may have said this last night, I may not have. My mom was 19 when I was born. My dad was a month before turning 21 when I was born. So they were very young, and they did the best they could. I'm trying to think of some other. Oh, another memory I have is kindergarten. I don't intensely. I mean, I was probably with other kids, but a really distinct memory I have is my very first teacher. She was a black woman, and I don't know if I ever had another black woman as a teacher. Ever since, I definitely didn't have any because I lived in the suburbs all those years, regular school, and I don't remember having a black female teacher in college, which to me is kind of crazy, but that's what happened. I gotta check my notes here, see if I missed anything. Sorry if I didn't. And like I said, I'm trying to do this as unscripted as possible. Like some of these memories are pretty distant. I had to write some down. Man. Oh, here's a silly one. We did live. It was a kind of an established name. Elmhurst. It was cool. I remember one side was kind of an open yard, and they had a huge apple tree. And I thought it was cute, and we got a good picture of it, but I couldn't find it for this. Of sticking, this is such a typical 4 or 5 year old thing to do, is sticking a bunch of apples in your shirt and saying, "Look at all the apples I ate. Look how full I am, Mom." And took a couple pictures of that. And then I remember the other direction. These people had a wonderful grapevine, and it covered their entire yard. They had a lattice, like a roof type of lattice, and there was, I don't know what ethnicity there were. There were some sort of Eastern Europeans as well, just like the Greek guy down the street. And we would go in the backyard and just play around and look at the wonderful plants, the wonderful garden this guy had made. It was amazing. And I do remember also trying to run away from my mother when I was 4. And this is really vivid too because I don't know if any of you said I'm going to run away. Like I don't know what a child's thinking when he's 4 and says he's going to run away. Something his mom did made him mad, and maybe she didn't give me the Kool-Aid I wanted. Who knows how we got there? But I'm running away. She's like, okay. I can imagine my mom going too, like, yeah, all right, yeah, you go ahead and run away. And so I did. I tried to run away, and my mom was probably like, okay, I better not let him run too far because he might sprint across the street and get hit by a car like his friend John the other day. And so I just remember running and feeling like I was so fast. Like, there's no way she's going to catch me. And I look back, and she's right there. I mean, it's just like a giant going, oh, I mean, you're clueless when you're 4. And she caught me before I think I even got out of our yard. She's just like, get back here, grabbed me by the arm, brought me back. Trying to think of any. Oh, another vivid memory of early years in New York is my dad, our neighbor, cut his hand up horribly with a saw, like a jigsaw or a circular saw or something. I'm not sure exactly what. But I was like 4 or 5 once again, and just his arm was a bloody mess, and he and my dad are holding it, and my dad took him to the hospital. Dad said that later this guy repaid his kindness by slashing the tires on his car. So that's kind of odd. Knowing my father, I can't imagine it was something that he did or said. A lot like me, nothing ever I would do or say would lead to anything bad. Okay, well, that's my 10 minutes. I hope you are all safe. I hope everything is going well. I hope you don't want to kill the people you live with. I just am really happy to be doing this. Thank you for listening, those of you who did. I appreciate it a lot. Hopefully I can listen to you one time. I will do one last thing. Shameless plug for my book that I wrote. If you're interested, hit me up on Messenger or lay down a comment. I will gladly give a free copy out and sign it for you. I'm just doing my best to get this out there.
Can I say that I did the cover?
Yes, you can. Logan did the cover, and frankly, the cover has gotten better compliments than anything inside the cover. So, also, if you need him to do stuff, he'll do stuff for you too, because he's very accomplished. He's only 15, but as you can see, he's really good at this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.